Home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
Welcome. At least nothing happened since we last spoke to you. Actually, it did, and we did speak to you on Saturday. So check out our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. And we love the comments, too. We've been getting a lot of that over the weekend. So here's how our weekend played out. Amanda and I, good morning, Amanda. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. So here's how our weekend played out. Right about the time our show is done on Friday, you get the major news dump of all news dumps, and that is the Jeremy Pruitt investigation, the notice of allegations coming out from Knox News, and good reporting, certainly fleshing that out, and it really went into the individual infractions. However, it was pretty obvious to have a story ready that fast that it was intentional to news dump it on a Friday so that it gets lost. I mean, I understand how the game's played. I've been there. So Amanda and I didn't get to talk about it much on Friday. We got up on Saturday morning and we've got some thoughts on the Jeremy Pruitt notice of allegations. So, but to me, football season has essentially begun, and I'm good with that. I'm happy with that. I think it was our friend Ryan Brown at the Next Round Live that said, Amanda, he said, this is the last week that we have to go into without a football game. Now, I know it's a Hall of Fame game in 12 days or 13 days, whenever they play that, but it is still football. There are grown men running into each other, and I'm good with that. So we're going to talk an awful lot of football for the rest of the week, but let's address the 800-pound bald elephant in the room, and that is Jeremy Pruitt. And Amanda, I just I want to get to some headlines and get to some news, but I really was stunned with 18 infractions, how widespread it was. You even get the wife involved and that sort of thing, and it just to me was just felt like somebody who wasn't ready for a head coaching job.
No, that was very clear. I don't think he was. I think his morals aren't exactly lining up the best. I mean, the good thing is, I guess his marriage is solid because wife's
Right.
in on it too. So good for him finding somebody that do the dirty work. But it's not great. It's not a great look.
So you're married, so am I. So if you were to cheat at something at work, would you even tell your significant other?
Oh yeah, he'd be in on it
Okay.
with me.
What if it was something you're a little ashamed of? You would still tell?
Well, I'm not good at cheating because I'm just.
I don't mean cheating on your. Don't get me wrong.
No, I know. No,
yeah.
I'm just saying anything because I'm just very honest and blunt. So hiding anything is very difficult for me, for the most part. So it would be hard for me to do anything that I would just be like, David, I just look the other way. Plus, he's nosy and he's kind of like a ninja. Like he will. He's a black belt in karate,
Sure,
but
huh?
I was trying to plan a surprise party for him once, and he literally was like so ninja-like that I had to lock my office door. And then every time he'd question me, I'd just get mad at him.
Ouch. Well, and it is another step to say, hey, I'm skimming the register. Hey, honey, will you come help me? Which is essentially what Jeremy Pruitt said. So I assume that you guys have never gone that far in any of your alleged dalliances in terms of Amanda's not a cheater. This is why we can have fun with this topic. So I'm not really worried about besearching her resume or her reputation. And you'll never never have to worry about the reputation at the mattress place. The mattress place is phenomenal with no gimmicks, just 30 to 70% off every day. They're like 2 miles away from downtown Knoxville. That's easy. And the mattress place has over 225 five-star recommendations on Google. So you know they're what it's all about. They are very easy to find on Chapman Highway. So a couple of other news as we get to the starting lineup brought to you by the Mattress Place today. And that is sad news, but it should be okay for him as a human. Now, I always wonder what this, hey, Diggs, what's up? We're just talking headlines. So thanks for joining us. I always get concerned about two things when you hear about cancer with an athlete. And that's one, obviously overall his health. I mean, is he going to survive it? Which it appears as if John Mechie III will. He over the weekend revealed that he was diagnosed with leukemia, but a very curable form. So you know anything could change, but that is obviously good news. It is very curable. But then the second thing, and Amanda, you and I talked about this over the weekend, is what does it do to him as an athlete? Because we've seen situations where illness has led to a big impact on the field. Eric Berry is one that overcame an Achilles, an ACL, and cancer, and but I just kind of felt like that really tests the desire to play. So I hate that for John Mechie because he's a great player. I hate it for him as a person because he seems like a good guy as well.
Yeah, I loved watching Mechie play at Alabama. I loved watching it because he was exciting. I mean, it was, you know, no college football fan can't say that he wasn't great to watch. I hate that he is battling this. This is awful, but I do agree with you. It's very curable, which is great. Eric Berry was one of the best football players I think that ever was on Tennessee's campus. But he, you know, after he had that cancer diagnosis, he came back, but he was never the same, which, you know, obviously that's cancer. That's what it does to you. I hope Mechie can get through this, but I do think the good part about what's happening, like silver lining, is that fans from everywhere, I mean, college football fans, all the rivals, Auburn fans, Tennessee fans, you know, Florida fans, LSU fans are coming out saying, you know, we're so sorry. We support you. We hope you get better. There are a few out there that, like one Auburn fan said, we hope, wish they diagnosed this before 2017 or something like that. Like really bad, not very nice. But for the most part, these rivals, at the end of the day, you realize that it's football. And I know we treat it like it's life, but when it comes down to something like this, you know, you have fans from everywhere telling him they hope he gets better. And I think that's a really good silver lining from this.
In a weird sort of way, the timing is better than it could have been. Had this been discovered at Alabama during the COVID year, I don't think a lot of people realize that he's from Canada and he had very limited contact with his family because of travel laws. So, in a weird sort of way, at least he has the funds and he has the accessibility to his family to be there. So there's that. I can't imagine going through. Maybe he would go home. I don't know, but that's pure speculation if he were still at Alabama. As far as the Hall of Fame, Big Papi makes it. Is there one player you rooted against the most? Because as a Yankees fan, mine was always Big Papi. It seemed like that guy absolutely would step up to the plate, but would step up to the moment every single time. It didn't feel like he ever lacked the sense of urgency, and boy, he was when he was at the plate, he was scary in clutch situations.
I didn't really honestly watch baseball that much. Like I watched it some. I think there was a guy in the Angels that passed away very, very young. He was their catcher. And no, it was a pitcher, sorry. And so I watched them for a while, but I never really watched baseball growing up because it was just kind of boring. Like I played
That is
softball,
boring.
and it's as a kid you get real bored with baseball, and there's no baseball team in Nashville other than the Sounds. You're not going to go see those guys all the time, so it's just
Fair
eh.
enough. The coming up on the program, we were going to discuss Phillip Fulmer. How much is he to blame for the Jeremy Pruitt situation? What is Fulmer's legacy now? And also, should Jeremy Pruitt ever be allowed to coach in college again? I would definitely argue that he should get another chance, but I got a feeling that Amanda LaFratta may see it a different way. And the last thing that I did want to touch base on, just because this is so rare, is the decision by NASCAR not to go ahead and hand out the trophy to the winner on the track. Now, this is a big thing for NASCAR back in the
Huge.
newspaper days. If you left the race, you were supposed to wake up Monday morning and read about the winner in the newspaper. You weren't supposed to be surprised because of a rules infraction. So while NASCAR will come down on people, no question, NASCAR typically doesn't take away a win, but that's what they did. And Amanda works, for those that don't know, as freelance for NASCAR, and that's a I really started to do the research, and I couldn't find the last time that's happened. I'm wanting to say like the 70s that they took away a win post race. That never ever happens.
No, and I do investigative research, so I'm not on the like inside of anything. I just if something comes up, I investigate it. But yeah, this is unprecedented for, I mean, it's been a long time, especially these next gen cars. I mean, when they changed them, a lot of NASCAR fans weren't happy. They weren't happy with the cars. And as we can see through, this this year, the tires have been rolling down the track, literally rolling down the track for these like one lug nut cars that changes, and not everyone is happy about it. But the thing that people don't understand is that when you are, you know, the pre-inspection is just you look at the car and you can't take the wrap off the car, obviously, because you can't rewrap it right before the race. But you look at the car, they inspect the car and the elements they can see. The problem with Hamlin and Kyle Busch, and if you watched the race at all yesterday, you know this, they were faster than everybody else. Like legitimately, Kyle Busch was just leaving people in the dust, which sometimes happens. But when they took the wraps off of Hamlin and Kyle Busch's car, they found something in the front fascia, which I'm assuming they didn't say what it was that they found, but I'm assuming it has to be some kind of weighted down to help the aerodynamics of the car go faster. That's just my assumption. But when like Denny Hamlin spun out like maybe one or two times, and you don't do that and come back and just be faster than everybody else, it just doesn't happen.
I was joking with you on Twitter. The three sins that you do not commit against NASCAR, and I was half joking. I don't really know why they were suspended. You would know better than I, but we're always cubic inches on your engine. You couldn't make an engine bigger than the one they gave you. That was like get suspended. And then
Mm-hmm.
tires, if you had a different compound, because everybody was supposed to run the same tires. And then if you were running some sort of super fuel, those were the three things back when I covered NASCAR that if you did, you were in big time trouble. So I immediately went there, but you had a really technical reason, and I trust you, and I got
Yeah.
confused. You won't get confused, neither will your pet with craft treats, because craft treats is fantastic
Yeah.
to chill them out, to calm them down. If it's ride anxiety, if it's situational anxiety, whatever the case may be, your pet will benefit. That's right, from craft treats. So coming up on the program, we are going to just go ahead and dive into it. What is Phillip Fulmer's legacy now that Jeremy Pruitt's notice of allegations has been released and it doesn't look really good? So we'll discuss that right after this. Back in 2 minutes, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports with Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hook.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Dish Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
There we go. All right, it is time for today's tough question, and we will post that on our good old Twitter feed, the Twitter universe that is ripping me and Amanda from time to time. We actually have gone pretty unscathed, other than I saw a post this morning on YouTube that were too silly. So
I saw that I should be fired on YouTube.
Oh, you should be fired?
Yes,
well,
because I suggested that everyone cheats or everyone's cheated in college football, and someone said that's not true, you should be fired. But some other guy came in and was like, I think you believe that WWE is true then. And I was like,
well, first of all, Amanda's a partner. Second of all, it is so she would have to fire herself.
Yeah.
But third of all, or fifth of all, or wherever we are, everybody has cheated. Everybody. I mean, come
common
on.
knowledge. It's common knowledge.
So that's fine. Go ahead and get on board now and give me your thoughts via chat and text as we are monitoring you. So Diggs, we appreciate you. Anybody else that wants to get on board and get your thoughts read, you can do that. Go to YouTube. Free subscription will get you some sneak peeks, and we got Josh Ward coming up today with the Sports Animal. Today's tough question, Amanda LaFratta, which is our poll question, we'll post on the Twitter. Today's tough question is what?
Besides Jeremy Pruitt, who is to blame for Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee?
Okay, I like that. Because if we put Jeremy Pruitt, it's going to be 85% Pruitt.
Everyone's going to say, yeah, Jeremy Pruitt's to blame. But I have a different take on it. And so I feel like maybe we should go over the take before we put that poll question out, because then it could change some minds. You never know.
Okay. Well, we'll wait on today's tough question. It is time to get to something that I wanted to talk about. Please subscribe and like this video if you do, because we talk Tennessee and SEC football constantly on this program. So let's get right to it. Let me start. Phillip Fulmer, how much is he to blame, Amanda LaFratta, for the notice of allegations, the fact that Jeremy Pruitt was an absolute failure as a coach, both on and off the field? How much is Phillip Fulmer to blame? I ask you that question.
I have two takes on this. Phillip Fulmer is to blame just because of the position he was in as AD. He's the one that brought Pruitt on, so he's to blame for that. I think every AD, when they bring on a coach that doesn't quite pan out or causes a mass problem in the program, is going to be to blame. However, Phillip Fulmer is not the godsend that every Tennessee fan or most Tennessee fans think that he is. He's not. I'm sorry. He's just not. He's not been that great for Tennessee. He had a good team, but he had a lot of talent on that team, and he had a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback in Peyton Manning, and he couldn't win the national championship with Manning. I know he came, like, T. Martin won it, and I understand all of that, but Phillip Fulmer has not been just the best thing that's ever happened to Tennessee, and I feel like people need to just get off of that. Just get off of it.
Well, now, in all fairness, though, a national title is a national title. I mean, Tennessee
has a national title.
Well, I mean, I understand that, and so does Les Miles, but I mean, you can't just dismiss a national title. Tennessee fans would go through all that they have gone through to be able to get another national title. I believe they would. And now with Phillip Fulmer, let's also don't forget that Phillip Fulmer in 2001 was a very inept half away from playing for another national title. Now, they would have gotten beat by Miami, and they would have gotten beaten thoroughly. I believe that. But still, they would have been in 2 national championship games in 4 seasons. So that would have been pretty impressive. Now, I'll be the first to say that I think Phillip Fulmer loves Tennessee. I think Phillip Fulmer loves himself just a little bit more. Okay. And that's not the worst thing in the world. A lot of people are like that. Okay. But when he came back to Tennessee, I thought it was a lot about Phillip Fulmer as much as it was about Tennessee. That being said, I don't blame, as we kind of formulate today's tough question, I don't blame Phillip Fulmer as much because he was called. I blame the current administration. The other thing that I think we should put out there too, as far as other than Pruitt, who do you blame for Pruitt, is the Tennessee fan base. I mean, you're looking at a Tennessee fan base that had a Greg Schiano, who in retrospect wouldn't have been a great hire, but let's face it, Tennessee fans didn't like him as a hire, so they brought in this Penn State stuff. That scared a lot of coaches. I was told in coaching communities about Tennessee's fan base, and that's why they had to settle on Pruitt. Tennessee, very likely, their administration could have had Mike Leach. I think that via John. Fun. Yeah, I think that via John Curry was done. So I don't. Do we want to make the 3 that are most responsible, the fan base, and then the administration or Fulmer? I think that's kind of where we're settling. I would put that. You've got a 4th as well.
I have a 4th. I have a take on this. Yes. Okay,
so we'll post all 4, but I lean towards the administration with a nod towards the fan base because I never saw any at all proof that Greg Schiano was aware of the just horrible things that were going on at Penn State. Not saying he would have been a good hire, but that response and that viral response hurt you as Tennessee with other candidates. That's just a fact. So you've got a 4th. What's your 4th?
I blame the NCAA. Just flat out, I blame the NCAA. I understand cheating is cheating, and I get that. But if we're going to look at the fan base for being so tough on coaches or being so, hard to coach for, if we're going to look at Phillip Fulmer, if we're going to look at the administration, no, like, single person out of any of that said, hey, it's okay to cheat. You're going to get away with it, to our knowledge. No one said that to Pruitt. The NCAA has done everything to show coaches and students and whoever that it's fine to cheat. Back then, before the NIL, it's fine. We're not going to go after you if you have something like what happened at Penn State. We'll go after you and then slap you on the wrist and send you on your way. North Carolina was the same thing. There's been countless times and many schools that have cheated or have been caught and had allegations who've gotten like a slap on the wrist. So if you're a college football coach, you're going to try to do everything you can to get the advantage for your team. Especially if everybody else is doing it and everybody else is getting away with it, why would you be the one that gets the that gets the punishment?
I blame the administration because I think that they are ultimately the ones that called a former football coach to be a CEO, and that hasn't been a thing for like 20 years. That used to be the thing. You would go from coach to athletic director. I mean, that hasn't. CEOs run those positions now, so I would blame the administration. I do want to get back to Phillip Fulmer's legacy for a moment. What does this mean for Phillip Fulmer's legacy? So I'll go ahead and tell you that you and I are probably we probably have different stances on this. But before even the Pruitt hire, before he was an AD, I thought they should have built a statue for Phillip Fulmer because he won a national title. You roll your eyes for those that are watching on video twice, but I think a national title is worthy of that. Is his past checkered? Yeah. I mean, it is a little bit, and there's some good points to be brought up about why he shouldn't be celebrated as heavily as I think. However, I think a national title is a national title, and if you win a national title, just in my mind, I don't care if it's Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Alabama, or who it is. I think that's worth the statue. So I will stand by that, even though I think he does blemish slightly his legacy because of the AD debacle.
So
and today's tough question is not going to be statue or no statue.
No, it's going to be who's to blame for Phillip Fulmer, and I think we have the four
Yes.
people that we think is most to blame. With the NCAA coming in at fourth, because I feel like they are to blame. When you put a culture out there and you say, here, you can do this and get away with it, then why not do it and get away with it? What's holding you back? Your moral high ground? No, probably not. Not as a coach. The Schiano, let's just go back to the Schiano question. There was something else that was like stirring that pot too, besides the stuff that happened to Penn State. There was something else, and I can't remember what it was, but there was something else that was stirring that pot. I don't think Tennessee, I think they dodged a bullet in Schiano. I mean, I do. I think they dodged a bullet.
In retrospect, I do too. But at the time, I thought it was a solid hire. I know that Ohio State was doing all they could to keep him, so they thought highly of him. But in retrospect, they definitely dodged a bullet. Hindsight 2020. But at the time, if you take away all of the Penn State stuff that I've never seen proof he was at all involved in the cover-up. If you take that out, he was a solid candidate at the time. He was more solid than Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, he had coached in the NFL. He had revived Rutgers. Then Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, as far as the resume.
As far as resume, but Jeremy Pruitt, look at what he did. Everywhere he went as a coordinator. Look at how he, defensively. Look at Alabama. Like, you can't just say like, oh, Jeremy Pruitt didn't have a resume. He did well defensively where he went, and that's what Tennessee was lacking.
Yeah,
so
he left Florida State after 1 year for a reason, and I don't want to get into that. And I give Saban more credit for any defense in Tuscaloosa than I do the coordinator.
I mean, I agree with that. But if you're looking at resumes, just the resume without really diving into, the other causes for his success at places, it looks pretty good. I mean, it does. It looks pretty good. And all Tennessee fans were excited when Pruitt came on. I remember. There was so much hype. Yes. There was a lot of hype around it.
Yeah. I wasn't excited the first time I interviewed him. I thought this isn't going to go well. And that was before he coached his first game. All right. So in the end, Phillip Fulmer, how much is he tarnished by this notice of allegation specifically? How much is his legacy tarnished? I don't think very much.
No,
I think
no one's gonna
I think
touch Fulmer.
you either liked him or you didn't before that. And again, I put it on the administration. So that Phillip Fulmer ultimately here's the legacy. Was successful as a head coach, was aggressive to the point of maybe being nefarious to get the head coaching job at Tennessee. Won a national title, was competitive, got away
Snitched on
from
other
it.
people.
Definitely snitched on other people, but that was the way it was. You're talking about Alabama. That was the way it was supposed to be done, actually, back then. But he did snitch on other people, and at the end of the day, he was an athletic director who made a really bad hire. So, is Phillip Fulmer, in my opinion, still one of the all-time greats at Tennessee? Absolutely, no question. Would Phillip Fulmer, if he could go back, take away that AD position? Probably. He did help some non-revenue sports, but ultimately it's about what you do in football. So today's tough question is brought to you by Big Orange Phillies. Big Orange Phillies, they know it's tough to get out of the office for a long time. They're good at getting you quality food fast. That's Big Orange Phillies. And fresh ingredients, casual shouldn't mean stale food options. Great taste is the name of the game. And they're committed to stepping up to the plate. They do that. And stay a while with darts, billiards, live entertainment, karaoke. So, we got a bunch of listeners on board now. So if you want to share on Facebook or retweet, we certainly appreciate that as we continue to grow with Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker. Coming up today on offthehooksports.com, we'll have a feature piece on David Cutcliffe. What if Tennessee would have hired David Cutcliffe instead of some guy that's name reminds with it almost rhymes with Goofy Dooley. Doesn't really rhyme with Goofy,
That doesn't.
does it?
No, not at all.
No,
Not
no,
at all.
no,
It's terrible.
no. Goofy Dooley. What happens if they didn't hire Goofy Dooley? Because David Cutcliffe, I know, would have taken the job at the time, and Tennessee showed a little interest, but not enough. So that'll be on offthehooksports.com. Coming up in 2 minutes, should Jeremy Pruitt ever be allowed to coach at the college level again? I got some pretty strong feelings about that. Back in 2 minutes, retweet, share, and we'll grow with your friends. Back in 2 minutes, Jeremy Pruitt, should he ever coach in college again?
It's Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ooltewah. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
All right, there we go with Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker, as we are going to get to the other big question based off of the Jeremy Pruitt notice of allegations that came down on Friday, and it was 18 level 1 allegations. That in and of itself is scary. I've never heard of a number quite that big. But 18 level 1 allegations are significant, but we're talking about 60 grand. So is it really that big of a deal? I'd say 60 grand was doled out over the weekend by probably 24 schools. So
More than that.
yeah, so that doesn't really surprise me at all. Okay. So today's tough question again, which we will post on the Twitter, is that who do you blame for Phillip Fulmer's or the Jeremy Pruitt tenure? So you go ahead and give that to me now so that I can go ahead and get that up on the Twitter, Amanda. So you said other than Jared, because the way you phrased it was perfect. So let's go with that.
So other than Pruitt himself, who do you blame for Pruitt's actions at Tennessee, or say his violations?
Okay, so today's tough question is, other than Pruitt, who do you blame? And you had the 4 that we were going to share and let the people vote on, right?
So we had Phillip Fulmer.
Okay.
Then we had the administration. Then we had the NCAA. And then we had the fan base.
Former fan base.
Administration.
NCAA and administration. All right. I like where you're going with the NCAA, because it was kind of the wild, wild west. It still is, though. My only issue with just picking the NCAA is it's always bad. So I don't know that. I don't know where we're going.
They shouldn't be off the hook because it's always.
See what you did there.
They shouldn't, but they should still get the brunt of this, because if you let criminals run wild, they're gonna run wild. Like that's just how it happens. I think we're seeing that all over our country. So, I mean, if you let people need boundaries. They need, that's a proven thing. You need boundaries. It's like as a parent and as a kid or whatever, parents need to have boundaries for their kids. I mean, it's the same way in the NCAA. You have to set boundaries, and you have to give people, you have to give them consequences. If no one's facing consequences, then what do you do? There's nothing. It's just crazy.
I've said it before. If there were no cops, there were no police officers, and no speed limit, Chattanooga to Knoxville or vice versa would be an hour-long drive for me. Because if I could, I would go about 110, 120 the whole way, like the Eurobahn. So I mean, that's what I would do, but I can't. Yeah. So you're absolutely. You wouldn't. You're a very safe driver.
I'm actually a pretty safe driver, but if you give me like an open road, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get it.
Never letting you drive my car. So
That's
scared.
Fine.
The last time I let a young lady drive my car, we ended up in someone's yard. Because she wasn't familiar with the term traction control, which means you can't spin the tires out, which is what she was trying to do. So instead of doing a 360, and I'm talking about you, instead of doing a 360, we just drove into somebody else's yard. So that was pretty much the end of that. So far, the fan base and UT administration is getting some serious consideration. So let's get to Jeremy Pruitt. Please like and subscribe if you like this content at Off the Hook Sports, our YouTube page, and you can go to offthehooksports.com. Jeremy Pruitt, should he ever, quite simple, I'm going to make this easy. Should he ever be allowed to coach in college football again, in the NCAA again? So he's with the New York Giants now. he's going to make a handsome salary. He probably makes $250,000 for the Giants. I don't know, but he's got enough of a resume where he can have a job making strong six digits in the NFL for the rest of his life. And he does, to his credit, do a good job of teaching pass rushing techniques, but I think that's about the extent of his acumen. So where would you ever allow the NCAA, or if you're the NCAA, would you ever allow Jeremy Pruitt to return to college coaching?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, honestly, why wouldn't you allow Jeremy Pruitt to return to college coaching? I mean, the NIL is $60,000 is a drop in the bucket right now. Like, it literally, did he have any kind of, in these allegations, was there any kind of sexual whatever? Was there any kind of racism? Was there any kind of anything as far as that had nothing to do with giving players money or having, like real moral issues coming in? No. So why wouldn't you let him coach? If I were a school, I wouldn't want him to coach. I wouldn't pick him. Not as a head coach. I wouldn't say, hey, Jeremy Pruitt, I see that you have a availability here. Come and coach my football team. No, I wouldn't want him there, but that's just basically for the stuff that he did on the field.
I'm never letting him, if I'm the NCAA, I'm never letting him come back. And here is why, because of how widespread it was. Now, I know the number, Amanda, of 60,000 is a drop in the bucket. You're absolutely correct. I'm not arguing that point. However, I am not allowing him to ever come back to the NCAA and coach. So he's going to get some sort of show cause penalty. I would think that he can't coach for 2 or 3 years. I don't know when that goes into effect. We don't even know what the NCAA is. We don't know if his time spent, the Giants, his time served. It should be as bad as they are. But I don't think that he would be in a position for it to be so widespread anymore. I think he would be an assistant. If Jeremy Pruitt wants to come back and be an assistant at the college level, I got no problems with that. I do think, though, that if I'm a head coach of said university, I'm keeping a close eye on him.
I think that if I wouldn't want to hire him, but I think if you're looking at coaches, Jim Tressel at Ohio State, if you remember that was a whole thing, and he came back to coach. Art Briles, Baylor, they didn't even punish him. Like, the NCAA didn't punish him for his sexual assault, like, allegations.
Yeah, and the cover-up was horrible. So let me get this clear. So if you were NCAA president Amanda LaFratta, you would not allow him back, but you think he will be allowed back?
No, if I was the NCAA president at this moment, I would just be on a beach somewhere enjoying my salary and not caring about college football one way or the other. That's clearly what's happening. However, if you look at the past actions of the NCAA, you're going to let him back. I'm surprised you're even going to try to punish him, because that's just a joke. Like, you're going to let him back. Obviously, look at who all you've let back in.
But, well, agreed. But would and should are two different words. So, or let's say will the NCAA at one point, because I think this guy wants to be a college coach. His dad was a high school coach. I don't think he's going to like the NFL very much. So I think he's going to try to come back at some point. So I guess it's a twofold question, Amanda. Do you think the NCAA will eventually allow Jeremy Pruitt to come back to college coaching? One, and then two, if you are President LaFratta of the NCAA,
I like that.
Would you allow him to come back? So I guess we're dealing with will and should, two very different things.
I think yes on both, because just based on the past, you can't hold him to a standard that you haven't held other people to. You just can't. If I was the NCAA president, I'd have to, go back and change a lot of things, that's for sure, because college football would look completely different than it does at this moment. However, yeah, you let him back. He doesn't, there's no real, the only moral issue is $60,000 handed out to players and your wife like handed them out. Did you pimp your wife out? No.
Yeah, kinda.
Yes, but did you
Oh,
pimp
not
your wife
literally.
out? Yes.
Well, with the last name Hooker, I understand there's some
Oh, God
flexibility in
bless.
those terms. But did they pimp? Yeah, I mean, she not literally as a pimp, but yeah, he said, "Hey, I need you to apparently funnel money to somebody," and she did it.
It's funneling money. It's funneling money that happened. This happened, what, 3-4 years ago? And now we're here literally funneling money to players. You can't just go back and say, you know what, that's 60 grand back then. That's a bad move, Jeremy Pruitt. You can't coach in this league anymore. You can't coach in the NCAA. Oh, by the way, hi, here's $8 million for coming to our school. It doesn't make any sense. You can't do that. Like they have no standing whatsoever on this. They have no, because he broke a rule. How many other coaches have broken rules? So many. And how many have gone without punishment? Art Briles.
So ultimately, we're at the will and should question. Will and should. Will he be allowed to coach again? Should he be allowed to coach again? It sounds like you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to say will, yes, because the NCAA has no gumption to it. I'm going to say should, absolutely not. If it's that widespread, he's just got to he's got to go. You're asking your wife to do it. You're asking
$60,000.
well, that of what we know of.
Yeah, but how many other coaches do you think have done this? They're just better at it.
Well, I agree with that. But anyway, so the will or should, Amanda thinks that he will coach again in college and that he should be able to. I'm going to say absolutely not. He should not be allowed to ever coach in college again. Will he? Yes, he will.
Yes, but if it was something that not every coach was doing, or not, multiple people in college football, if they weren't doing this, should he be allowed to coach again? No. But we all know it's happening. We all know it's been happening. Everyone knows that except for like one guy who thinks that everybody else doesn't cheat. However, everybody knows that this is a common occurrence in college football. So if this is such a common occurrence, then no, he should be allowed to coach. Now, if it was something that wasn't common, like say there was a rape allegation, or say there was something else that was very serious, then I would say, no, absolutely, you cannot coach again. However, this is something that is widespread across college football and has been for a long time. The NCAA sitting on their hands and not doing anything about it is why he was allowed, or not allowed, but why he felt that it was okay to do. And that's not, that's his fault for thinking that, but that's more on the NCAA than it is anybody else.
We'll get to this day in sports history. First, on or off the hook, brought to you by Biles Automotive right there on Callahan. Biles Automotive is absolutely fantastic when it comes to integrity, when it comes to selection, service. They've got it all they want, they need, and they appreciate your business. Biles Automotive Group on Callahan brings you on or off the hook.
On or off the hook? Who's to blame? Unleash the fury! It has to be someone's fault. On or off the hook, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
So I'm just going to tie this into today's tough question, and that is when we look at who is most responsible other than Jeremy Pruitt, who's on or off the hook. So let me go through these, if I may, Amanda, and you tell me if they're completely on or off the hook. So today's tough question, other than Jeremy Pruitt, who do you blame for the pending NCAA issues? Fulmer with 66.7% of the vote earlier on. I don't even have to ask you. He's on the hook. I think he's on the hook too. The fan base, you may dislike me out there, Tennessee fans, but I think you're on the hook for this too. How about you, Amanda?
I think they're off the hook for this. They're a fan base. Every fan base has their issues. However, if you're a Tennessee fan, you've been dealing with a lot. So let's be honest. There's been a lot of bad decisions made where you're concerned, and Tennessee fans have it rough. I'm not gonna lie. They've had it rough. It's not been great for them. Like maybe the Haslam thing should have just gone on them out. Should have kicked them out a while ago. But they've had it rough. So I don't blame them for being bitter, and I don't blame them for what they, if you're a crap fan, then I blame you. But there's crap fans everywhere. But I don't blame for most Tennessee fans just feeling defeated all the time because your administration has led you astray so many times. So no, don't blame it on the fans. It's not the fans' fault.
I'm not blaming it. I think they're on the hook for something. The NCAA, I know you think is on the hook, and
Yes.
really, if I made one singular vote, they are on the hook. But if I made one singular vote, it would be UT's administration. I mean, they're the ones who reached out to Fulmer. They believe that was just a Band-Aid, that they could take care of an issue, when in reality, there was a much deeper diagnosis that needed to be made. So right now, Fulmer getting about 57% of the vote, the fan base getting about 5%, NCAA getting about 16%, UT's administration getting about 21%. So that's where we are. So this day in sports history, Amanda, what do we got going on as we get closer to football season? We'll start to see some fun football stuff at this day in sports history. What exciting happened on this day in sports history way back when?
I mean, how far do you want to go?
I love going old school, like back when I was born, the late 20s.
The late 20s.
Yes, that's about when I was born. So I'm somewhere in there.
I don't think we should do the late 20s. That's
you get it's funny, you get a lot of baseball this time of year, obviously.
Yes,
Did you
I
see
have
that?
one.
Did you happen to see over the weekend the grand slam in the park home run with no error?
Yes.
That is
No error. There was error.
There were errors, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't recorded as an error. So
Could've
the guy,
been.
the guy lost the ball. In case you didn't see it, it's just it's bad baseball overall, because you can lose the ball. So I'm okay with that part. He lost the ball and it bounced about 20 feet behind him. The question is, he thought he had backup. So you're supposed to, another outfielder is supposed to run behind you for backup in case you drop it. And so he's thinking that he just has backup, and he turns around just casually and looks, and there's nobody there. That's the first thing they teach you in Little League, is to back everybody up, and they
both
did
of
not
those
do
players are on the hook. I'm just letting you know.
Whoever the other outfielder was is
both
also
of them, because they also teach you in baseball that you turn around and you make sure there's somebody behind you. If the ball gets past you, you're running. Like you are flying towards that ball. It does not matter. You don't assume somebody's just back there. You turn around and you go after it. And what did he do? He just was like, well, I lost it. I'm gonna casually walk back. Like, no,
I don't think he knew where the ball was. Maybe a little bit longer than you. I think he was turning around looking for it. Like, I'm not going to run in a direction that's the wrong direction, because I don't think he had any idea. It was bizarre. This day in sports history brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Vassy Lawn and Garden is right there in Cleveland. Toro, count on it. They've got the residential, they've got the commercials, they've got the hedgers, they've got the trimmers, the blowers, they've got it all at Vassy Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Okay, so you had this day in sports history is what?
Yes. So speaking of, we're talking about the MLB Hall of Fame. Someone that didn't get into it, that should have got into it, on this day in 1978, Cincinnati Reds Pete Rose sets NL record hitting in 38 consecutive games.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care about his betting habits. Get off of it.
Yeah.
Put him in there.
Well, and the great thing was hitting in that 38th game completed a 10-play parlay for him, so he took home $180,000. Gambling joke. There's no way he should be in the Hall of Fame. There's no way he should be in the Hall of Fame. That's
you are outside your mind.
No way. No.
You are outside of your mind.
It's the integrity of the sport.
Integrity is rear end.
Yeah.
No.
I know firsthand he was gambling with children when he was.
No, you don't.
I do too. I used to host a show, and I do too. He used to gamble on ping pong with children and take their money. The guy has a problem. There's no question that he bet on the Reds. He's admitted that. Do you ever bet against the Reds? It wouldn't surprise me. He's a dastardly bad person that should not be in the Hall of Fame. That's where I stand. You're not going to change my mind. But I do appreciate.
How good was he in the MLB?
He was incredible.
Then you put him in the Hall of Fame.
You know what was weird is he'd have trouble finding a place in today's major leagues, which is sad because you swing for the fences or strike out. You could strike out 3 times in a game, and it's like, just another day at the office, which is so strange to me. You played softball. I played baseball and was an umpire. Striking out used to be a bad thing. Now it's just like, oh, I'll walk there, I'll walk back, and we'll go play defense.
Well, there's a reason these big time like home run hitters have a batting average of like 2.75 or something like that.
Yeah, and they're hitting like 650-foot shots, so they don't care. Is it true that chicks dig the long ball? Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Is it true that chicks dig the long ball?
No, I don't care.
Okay. You're a happily married person, but if you had to choose between the ace pitcher and the power hitter, so you're going Clayton Kershaw or Aaron Judge, not based on looks, but because Judge looks like he just forgot something at his hotel. But between the two, are you going with the pitcher if you had to date somebody? But you're happily married. But if you had to date somebody, would it be the pitcher or the hitter, the power hitter?
So I actually married the pitcher. He played at Wisconsin. Yep. They didn't have like a baseball team. They had like a club baseball team or something, and he played at Wisconsin. He was actually the bat boy for the Brewers, and I have like a whole signed thing up here of the Milwaukee Brewers lineup.
Nice.
Yeah, against I think the Yankees, something like that. And somebody on here is from Tennessee. I can't remember who it was. Phil Gardner or something like that. It's all signed.
Yeah, Phil Gardner.
Yeah, it's all signed back here. But he's the bat boy. So essentially I dated the pitcher and the bat boy, and I married him.
There you go. Pretty strong. I didn't really know that. I didn't know they had baseball in Wisconsin. I didn't know they had an athletic department at all. This day in sports history is brought to you by Owl's Nest Barbecue. Owl's Nest Barbecue is the place to go right there in Ooltewah. And they have all that you need, be it the pellets, be it the wood chips, the sauce, the rub. That is Owl's Nest Barbecue, and it's right next to Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. Thanks for joining us. We'll be here. Like and subscribe so you get the notifications that we're here. Set it on your Twitter as well. We're here every day at 9 o'clock with the very talented Amanda LaFratta and the Just Getting By Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Have a blessed day, everyone.